Thank you for tuning in to Koppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen. We're with comic Darian Lusk. Darian Lusk, how the hell are you?
Hey, Brian, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to just chat it up and, have a good time and see where this goes.
Well, as all good comedians do, you have the best topics, and so I cannot wait to explore them. It just shows how funny you are if even the topics you suggested are funny.
Well, thank you. I mean, maybe the topics are funnier than me.
Yeah, we'll have to see if you live up to the expectation.
But we'll see.
Yeah, but I follow you at Darian Lusk. I mean, you are Eat, Pray, Lusk, which is funny in and of itself.
Thank you. Yeah, Eat Pray, Lusk on Twitter and on Instagram. If I were gonna fully plug. And please follow me if you're a listener and you want to have a laugh. And yeah, I think that's all I really have to plug.
Yeah, and I look at your videos here, and some of them are on IGTV, including a recent one where you want to go to school with your son because you were just bored of playing Sims.
Yeah. I made sort of a Billy Madison parody, but the idea, I guess, is that it would be like I would be joining Zoom classes. I guess it's not clear, it's my little brother in reality, but I don't think I really define the relationship. So it could just be like my son, and I'm like this sad father in the video. But check it out on my Instagram.
And you also do. I don't see as many. Like I see music. I see you playing music, but I don't see are there further down in your feed? Are there videos of you actually performing in video form?
That's that's a big to do for me because I have on my YouTube, I have videos of my sets, but I haven't really pivoted to social video. And I feel like every couple of days I'm like, Darian, this is the day you need to make a music video. You need to put up you doing a song or something. Yeah. But I think that's coming soon, and I feel like it'll be good when it happens.
Yeah, I had Caitlin Cook on earlier today, and she seems to have a lot of success with her, short musical comedy videos. And I think although they're a minute long, she puts them on IGTV so that they can be kind of categorized into series. And she says, she seems to indicate that it's been pretty successful so far. And so I see here on your feed though, do you have an album called At the Beach?
I put out a single, a comedy song about a year ago called At the Beach.
And where can we hear that? Is it Spotify or Bandcamp?
Yeah, I think it was on Spotify. I don't think I paid, every year you have to pay $10 on Spotify. Yeah. And I think I forgot to pay. But it's on YouTube and SoundCloud and more. So I would definitely love if somebody, I think somebody could find that if they Googled this At the Beach and my name.
Yeah, and it sounds like here, like you said, it's on, your videos are on YouTube, so they're also embedded on your website. So DarianLusk.com at the videos tab, you can see some of these YouTube things that are embedded. And so yeah, follow him here if he's funny with his topics and what we're going to talk about. Some of the funny topics you have. I have the comedian guests suggest some topics, and I pick a couple I like. But all of yours were so fucking off the wall. I loved them all. Like off-brand amusement parks is funny. The possibility of unknown deep sea creatures is promising. Recent bad horror movies, and even the importance of Steely Dan.
Yeah, I mean, those are kind of tenets of my personality and all sort of big parts of my life. So I'm excited to dig in, and I hope we do them justice.
Yeah. Well, first let's talk about the possibility of unknown deep sea creatures, and I think you're referring to the giant squid.
Right. So yeah, we talked about this a little bit while we were just sort of getting to know each other before we started recording. But I'm sort of obsessed with the idea of what is in the sea, and sort of we've found some pretty big colossal squid in the past, and there's videos on YouTube of colossal squids being discovered, and we're talking, like 30, 40-foot squid, and I'm just wondering, like, what else is out there. And, I think that I find myself watching YouTube late into the night and sort of like watching squid videos, and it's definitely like a place in YouTube that I would check out.
And once you kind of chase the rabbit hole all the way down, that's when you give up and you try to get into your brother's Zoom classes.
Yeah, or get into my pontoon boat and go try to discover for myself.
Do you actually have a pontoon boat?
No, but summer 2020, like maybe I'll get some wood together and build me a boat.
And I read the topic quickly, and I thought that we were talking about kind of deep sea civilizations, and I was like, well, that can't really happen because, so I mean, even my own take on it was like, oh, maybe there's deep sea civilizations, but it's like, no, people can travel all the way down to the bottom of the ocean. But like you said, just because you're able to go all the way down doesn't mean you're going to find what you want to see, because the squid can be hiding, or it doesn't happen to be at the bottom of, at that point in the bottom of the huge ocean. And so it led us to kind of, conjecture that maybe there are civilizations under there. If there's alien civilizations, why not deep sea civilizations? And they would just have to be elusive enough to escape the occasional deep sea diver.
Right. Yeah. They could be 3 steps ahead. I mean, we just don't know.
Yeah. And when you're a deep sea civilization, you probably are 3 steps ahead.
Right. No, they're smart and they're ready. They're making, they are prepared to, stay undercover and hidden, and, we have a long way to go before we're ready to meet them, or whatever's down there.
But yeah, similarly bizarre as your off-brand amusement parks, why the fuck are you into off-brand amusement parks?
Okay, so, I had like a period of time last summer when I was between jobs, and if you are friends with enough comics or people in general, you'll know that's a code for unemployed. I spent a lot of time like with my mom and my younger brother, and we went to an amusement park just because like I was free. We were all free to do so, and I really enjoy like some of the smaller amusement parks on the East Coast, and I would definitely recommend to people when COVID dies down to check out some of these roller coasters and some of these theme parks, because we've got some gems in our midst.
Yeah, what makes them a gem?
Well, okay, so I really like this theme park called Lake Compounce, and it's in Connecticut, and it has the longest wooden roller coaster in the U.S., if not in the world. And it's a really fun, it's a really fun ride, and this is a really like it's a nice park, and it's very like kind of old school, like the rides, but not many deaths, so it's like you're like I won't be a statistic.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's not as scary. I mean, it sounds fast enough, but I'm not going to have to worry about the steep enough drops, because I don't think the wood ones were as steep as before. Like I went on the Great American Eagle in Gurnee, Illinois, and that scared me to death just because it was made of wood and you did have a steep drop. Did the longest wooden roller coaster, did it have a drop at all?
It has some drops, but not like King's Car. You have to keep it like above the board.
Oh, good. Because yeah, when I think about off-brand, you said very few deaths or something like that, and I think that what comes to mind with off-brand amusement parks is the lack of safety. There was that one water slide where fucking the kid got his head chopped off because some net was too low or some shit. Like the thing, it was a steep drop. The vehicle kind of went too far off the ground, and the net was too low that day or some shit. And I think the whole ride the whole theme park is done now. And so you'd think that at some of these off-brand amusement parks, safety might not be a priority, but you beg to differ.
I mean, I think that they're safe enough that you can enjoy. I think that's they're safe enough. I think that I grew up near Playland, which is the theme park where Big was filmed, the beginning of the movie Big.
I love that.
And there were a couple of deaths there too, I think. But when an amusement park has deaths, they close that ride. So
Yeah.
it's closed. So it's like you're safe.
And they also edited the deaths out of Big.
Yeah. Well, that movie started very differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to see that. I want to see the outtakes of that. You're like, oh, should we discuss the death that happened here 5 seconds ago? Nah, we'll skip it. And that brings me to my next thing: is you're also interested in recent bad horror movies. Why the fuck recent and bad and horror?
Yeah. You know, I okay. Why recent? Why bad? Why horror?
And you got so specific with it. I loved it. It goes, after 2004, but a tomato, Rotten Tomato score under 60. I was like, that is fucking precious. It's like you have a
Totally.
formula. You have a formula you're following.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, yeah, it's a very specific genre. It's not just horror movies. Well, I think that I always sort of like the horror genre. I think it's sort of like comfort food to me, and I think that there's something, and I think that more specifically, I really like sort of like objectively bad horror movies that from the last like 20 years, and these like movies are all sort of the same. It's like there'll be a family, there'll be a house, a new house, so they're moving into a new house. It's probably made of glass.
Yeah.
And there will be some sort of evil object. So either it will be like an evil thing that they find in a box, or like the kid becomes evil, but they're all sort of the same. And I just love those movies, and I think that I spend a lot of time watching them.
Well, I like some of them. Like I like the whole Sinister. Well, there was Sinister, and there was the other one. Which one had Ethan Hawke? Was that Sinister?
That was Sinister, but
Yeah,
Sinister 2 is not as good, and it does not have Ethan Hawke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I mean, yeah. Sinister 1 was good. Sinister 2 was okay because it had an actress that I like a lot, and I also love all the found footage shit. But and also Cabin in the Woods, and these things probably don't drop below 60 on the tomatometer for the most part. Maybe Sinister 2 did. But can you explain something to me, like all this shit about Babadook? Like I didn't get it. Was it scary? What part was scary?
Oh, in the Babadook?
Yeah. Have you seen it? Is it good? Is it scary? Because I think I watched
good.
it. I think I watched it. I think I paid attention, but I don't know where the scary was.
Babadook is, I think that the idea there is it's a metaphor for motherhood, and for trauma. I remember being like, this was good. I think that I don't think it's that scary, but the name of it's scary, like Babadook. That's sort of, it's sort of like a jumble of letters. So I guess there's something like there, like it seems like intense.
Yeah. And so like things like Paranormal Activity freak me out because somebody's holding a fucking camera or something, and then they pan to the right and somebody's right there, and that startles the fuck out of me. And of course Paranormal Activity got shitty by, I don't know, maybe the fourth one, but some of these things are so fucking scary I can't even watch them. Like what is it about a scary movie that's like comfort food to you? If the thing is scary, why would that be comforting to you?
I think that there's something about the fear that is sort of like, I don't know. I think that I grew up watching like movies like The Shining, and I watched a lot of those movies like really doing well socially, and I think that it just like brings me back to that time. And I think that if you remember, like if you look around and you pause your laptop for a second and you look around your room and you're like, oh, this is like a work of fiction, I think that you can sort of still enjoy it and not really worry about like a monster actually coming to get you.
Yeah.
Because we're big boys, and I think we know that it's not real. And I think as long as you are aware of that, you can sort of enjoy it.
But I mean, why the bad horror movies though? So I mean, like you said, big glass house, they find the fucking box. Like if it's bad on the tomatometer, does that mean you think it's bad, or are they, you actually like the glass house and you like they discover the thing and the boy gets haunted, and you actually like it, or you like that it's bad?
I think that I like I think that I like them, period. And I think that they're works of art. I think that it's a sort of like an art form to make a movie like that is just so like devoid of quality and logic, and sort of like good acting, good writing, really anything that sort of would make a movie good. And I think that that is something like consistent about all these movies, is that they're so like lacking a soul. And uh, 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 these really get churned out. You can really watch a lot of these things. There's a lot
Yeah.
of these movies where a family will go to a house and there will be an evil thing in a box, like hundreds of movies, and big budget movies. So I guess that I just take comfort in those, and I think that after a long day, I love just watching a family sort of get rocked and sort of get torn apart.
So it's like reality TV for you, and is some of the fun. So it's kind of mindless, and you can enjoy it like reality TV. But is some of the fun in that you can predict what's going to happen next?
Um, yeah, I think that's sort of the fun. I think it's sort of like a Michael Jackson popcorn GIF. Like I think that I know the beats, and I think that I can just sort of like, I think that I know what I'm in for.
Oh, good. And knowing the beats takes us to the next thing, which is going to be Steely Dan. I've come across, Oh Hello on Broadway, which is Mulaney and Kroll, and they, a lot of that fucking play. I loved it all, but they talked about Steely Dan quite a bit just because they were presenting older Upper West Side people who might be into Steely Dan and little else. But even somebody like Seinfeld, when he had Fred Armisen on Comedians in Cars, Fred was like, I don't even know what you listen to, and Jerry Seinfeld was, well, he's like, well, Steely Dan really spoke to me. That's something where I'm going to see him every time they're there. And one of your topics was the importance of Steely Dan. So please enlighten me. What the fuck is it with Steely Dan?
I think that a lot of comics, sort of like have a strong relationship with Steely Dan. I think that their music like resonates with comedians, and I think that they sort of have this like um, uh, uh, polarizing effect, where I think that a lot of people are like, oh, Steely Dan, like it's sort of a joke, but it's like, they were like this really serious male duo that went to Bard College, and they make music about like you know like snarky figures, and like unsightly and untrustworthy characters, and it's all very literary and all very like Jewish and intellectual, but also like like kind of like liberal arts music. And it's from like a long time ago, but somehow it's like still very relevant. Like I think that like the music of Steely Dan is sort of more in the zeitgeist than like the music of like Rush, except for when Paul Rudd said slapping the bass. I think that
Yeah.
like Steely Dan really holds up. Like I think that they're sort of like still present in our time.
Yeah, I think it's almost the same thing as yacht rock. I really think it kind of holds up if you're in a certain mind space. But you said the word Jewish, and are they Jewish? Like what, like what, or were they, why were they? And I guess Mulaney and Kroll, like I think Kroll might be Jewish, or he might have been raised Jewish or something. But the characters are kind of this Upper West Side characters, like Ellen Alda. But why did you say Jewish, and are they Jewish? And why would Jewish people be more likely to listen to Steely Dan and enjoy them?
I think that whether or not they're Jewish, they're Jewish. You know what I mean? I'm like, listen, Steely Dan, you're in the tribe. I think that they just there's a lot that's Jewish about them. Like a lot of their music is complaining. I think that they do a lot. It's very snide. It's a lot of complaining. I think that they, when they were like recording their albums, they moved from New York to LA, but then they didn't like it, so they moved back to New York, which I sort of could see happening to me at maybe 10 years down the line. If all goes well, like I think that's sort of a trajectory I relate to. And I just think that I think that if you ask any New York Jew, if you bring up Steely Dan to a New York Jew, you're in.
Well, I guess that brings me to my next question, which is Darian Lusk, what about the music of Steely Dan has kind of made its way into the musical comedy of Darian Lusk?
Oh man, well that is just I want to answer that question every morning when I wake up. That's like my whole thing. I think that like I think that I was exposed to their music at a young age, like too young, and I think that something about that definitely rubbed off on me. And I just think that the quality of sort of writing and musically, just like the chords that they use and how well studied they are, and just that they were so uncompromising. They like set out and sort of made their own genre of music. It's not really like classic rock, but they have classic rock songs. It's not really jazz, but they have jazz songs. And I think that if you ask any musician, they would tell you that some of their solos and some of their syncopations and like parts and songs are really some of the best ever recorded. I think that they have like a lot of respect. They're like a musician's musician, like
Yeah.
and I just think that as you can see, I love talking about them, and I think that it's sort of like if I in my dream scenario, like when people like bring me up sort of as like what they associate with me, I want them to think of that I like Steely Dan too much.
And like you mentioned the word uncompromising, how do you make sure that Darian Lusk stays uncompromising in the space of musical comedy?
Oh well, come see me live and look at my Twitter, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay. And then what would be
I don't know that.
what would be compromised? What would Darian Lusk have to start doing where we're like, dude, he's starting to get a little bit compromised. He's not at all like Steely Dan.
I think that if I started doing Trump comedy parodies, that would be the wrong direction. But I think that, well, I think a more straightforward answer is I think that a lot of my songs are like, like Steely Dan has songs about getting kicked out of or getting in trouble in college, and like complaining about, just stuff that I think is similar to things that my songs are about. Like I have a song about spending Hanukkah in Florida, because my parents took me for free. And I have a song about having about how I forgive my parents for the fact that they gave me piano, give me money, like all the time. But I think that those are things that it's like they're a little bit Steely Dan in their affect.
Wait, so you broke up a little bit. Your parents, you forgiving your parents for giving you piano lessons or money? What did you say?
Oh, sorry. I forgive my parents for being able to give me piano lessons, but not for just like as an adult giving me money.
And so, so why would Trump be, kind of compromised? Would you think that that's it's kind of pandering, or it's surfing the wave in the hopes you're getting more likes and views and things like that? Whereas if you kind of tell these little nuances and slices of life from your own life, you're much more like Steely Dan, and you're not just kind of swinging at every pitch in popular culture.
Yeah, I think you said it better than me. I think that's it.
So that's Steely Dan, and the similarities and differences between Steely Dan and Darian Lusk. I mean, there should be no differences, but if we ever see daylight between you and Steely Dan, we're gonna fucking raise holy hell, man.
Yeah, that's when you know that the people in the bottom of the sea have risen.
Well,
Something is wrong.
follow him at Eat, Pray, Lusk, because we do, and I can't wait to see if you ever do any of these musical comedy things on social. Just kind of little snippets, because it sounds like you're kind of slowly getting to the point where you might do that.
Yeah, please keep. And Yeah, definitely follow me at Eat Pray Lusk, and I think that there's content for all. And thank you so much, Brian. This was a blast, and I hope that the listeners out there got something from it.
Dude, I think that you lived up to your topics.
All right, well, that's the relief.
Dude, Darian Lusk, thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian, and take it easy.